A while back, I was visiting my grandma, and she asked me to, direct quote, pick up that yoke on the table. I looked at the table. There was no yoke. She asked again, the yoke. Oh no, I thought, she's losing it. Delirium? Stroke? Dementia? No, it was just linguistics. See, my grandma is Irish. She moved to England in the 1950s, and that affected her everyday language, but she never completely lost the dialect she used in her youth. And in Hiberno English, the dialect of English spoken in Ireland, yoke means thing. It's often used as a placeholder for things you can't remember the name of, but can also just be a general word for things, especially functional tools. Apparently it's really common for Irish kitchens to be full of yokes. My grandma was referring to a remote control. But how did yoke go from its original meaning, the harness that holds a pair of animals together, to its current Irish meaning? I couldn't find much on yoke itself, so I thought I'd investigate how the word for thing evolved in different languages, see if there are any patterns. And there are some really cool etymologies there, like the English word item. It comes from the Latin item, but that means also, or in the same way. So how did it come to mean an object? When writing lists in the Middle Ages, people would use item to link items together. A medieval shopping list might say first bread, item butter, item apples. Over time, item came to mean any entry on a list, and then any object that could be on a list, and its pronunciation changed slightly as it was adopted into the language. This is an example of semantic bleaching, also known as semantic broadening, where a word comes to be used more widely. This can be by referring to a broader range of things, like the word guy, which comes originally from Guy Fawkes. People burn effigies, called guys, on bonfire night. The effigies were made of rags and old clothes, and so a particularly scruffy man might get called a guy as a joking insult. That got broadened out to any man, and then any people. And in some places, you guys has basically become a second person plural pronoun. Semantic bleaching can also be when the meaning becomes weaker, so that it's applicable to more situations. Awesome was pretty specific when it meant just things that inspire awe. Now it just means good, which is way more common. Weird used to mean something destined, then anything supernatural, then just a bit odd. Some linguists distinguish between these, calling one bleaching and one broadening, but the terminology isn't really consistent. I'm just going to use bleaching for both because it sounds cooler. A lot of words for thing in different languages originate from semantic bleaching, which makes sense. Thing is a very generic word. The word thing itself comes from bleaching. It originated as Proto-Germanic thinga, meaning an assembly. Over time, the word came to refer to matters discussed at an assembly, and then just any matter at all. The words for thing in German and Dutch are from this too. But in several Scandinavian languages, it kept the meaning of an assembly, which is why their governments are sometimes called things. There's also Proto-Germanic sako, meaning a legal dispute. In English, sake means a cause or a reason, but its cognates in German and Swedish mean a thing. Same process. Legal dispute to something a legal dispute is about to just something. This isn't just a Germanic thing. It also happened independently in Romance languages. The Latin word causa has descendants in the French chose, the Basque causa, and the Albanian kafsha. And you'll never guess what it meant in Latin. Okay, maybe you will. It meant a reason, a motivation, an explanation, or a legal case. Polish jech and Ukrainian chlich, those both mean thing, but their Slavic root word meant speech. Romanian kestie, that's a cousin of English question. Armenian ban, Hebrew davar, Finnish yutu, Vietnamese dieu, all speech words that independently turned into things. As far as I can tell, this is the most common route to thingification. A similar pattern is things that actions are done to. Object is an example of this. It comes from the Latin objectus, which means something that's been thrown or offered. Greek has pragma, something that's been done. Arabic has haja, which means a need in some dialects, a thing that could be needed in others. And some start out even more generic than that. It makes sense that a lot of the words for thing come from terms that are already pretty vague at the start, It might be that these are the words most vulnerable to thingification. It might be that they did once mean something more specific, but that was long enough ago for no trace to exist. These aren't super useful for investigating yoke, though. We know the root for that, and it's pretty specific. Is there anything similar? Well, there's the Khmer ruba, which comes from the Proto-Khmer word meaning tool, and the French machin is related to the English machine, both meaning a machine. That's really similar to yoke. I can imagine it going from a specific tool, to a general term for tool, to any object you can use, to any object or concept. That would make 3 independent evolutions of tools into things. I think that counts as a pattern of thingification. And there might be more patterns out there, except they're kind of hard to find. Like a lot of linguistic change, semantic bleaching often seems to start in slang, and slang's historically not been seen as that worthy of linguistic attention. It tends to be treated as people speaking wrong, rather than evolution. Plus, my own research is pretty limited by only being fluent in English. Even within English, different dialects bleach different things. Australians are famous for using extreme profanities as friendly greetings. They use them so often that the offensiveness is kind of worn off. In some varieties of African American English, the N-word has been reclaimed, and then semantically bleached so that it can refer to any person regardless of race. The word quite, which originally meant completely, got bleached slightly differently in the UK and the US. If an American says something's quite nice, they think it's really good. They tend to use quite as an intensifier. In Britain, though, something quite nice is moderately good. Could be better. And there are also generational gaps. It's died down a bit now, but people used to be literally outraged by the youth using the word literally as an intensifier. Ugh, words don't mean anything anymore. Before that, it was totally. Teenage girls especially were seen as ruining the language, because they tend to be the trailblazers in linguistic change. But that's just kind of how it goes with intensifiers. Awesome used to mean something that inspired awe, now it means good. Great used to mean big, then something of big goodness, then good. Once an intensifier's been used enough, it uses a little of its power. For more emphasis, you need a new one. And these processes have been going forever. Do you think any medieval Latin speaker got annoyed about the change of meaning in causa? Did anyone ever say, actually an item is an entry on a list, not just anything that could be on a list? The word like originally referred to bodies. If you're like something, your body is similar. But the same root came to mean corpse in other Germanic languages. Did that lead to any fun medieval misunderstandings? Language has always changed, and the ways it changes have always annoyed, confused, and delighted people. That's why etymology is one of my favourite things. I mean, yokes.